Tommy was a boy who lived at the edge of a quiet town, where the mornings smelled like fresh dew and the evening winds whispered through the tall golden fields. The town was simple and calm, the kind of place where everyone knew each other's names and life moved slowly, giving people time to notice small, beautiful things. Tommy's family owned a modest farm, and every corner of it held memories. The barn where his father mended tools, the orchard where his mother picked fruit, the small vegetable garden he sometimes helped water, each spot had its own rhythm. But Tommy, for all his heart, had never learned to keep pace with it. He was a dreamer, a boy who loved imagining adventures, listening to the wind, and lying under the shade of the old oak tree near the house. He liked the idea of the farm, the smell of the earth, and the golden stretch of cornfields, but he rarely wanted to get his hands dirty. His father, Mr. Thompson, was a man shaped by years of hard work and quiet patience. He woke with the sun, tending to the animals before they even had time to stir. He repaired fences that had been damaged by storms, checked the water in the irrigation channels, and plowed the fields until the earth was ready for planting. He didn't shout or nag. He simply worked, steady and consistent, believing that the boy would learn eventually. He had learned the value of effort long ago, and he hoped to pass it on to Tommy, not through lectures but through example. One summer, the corn was growing tall, the fields promising a rich harvest if carefully maintained. Mr. Thompson looked at Tommy one morning as they walked past the rows. "The corn is coming in strong," he said. "If we work together, we can have a wonderful harvest. But it won't take care of itself." Tommy yawned and stretched, glancing at the fields lazily. "It'll be fine, Dad. It's still early. The rain will come, and the weeds, well, they won't grow that fast." He said it casually, almost proudly, thinking somehow that luck and time would carry him through. But the fields didn't wait. Day after day, the sun rose high and bright, casting warmth over the earth. Tommy stayed in bed longer each morning, lingered under the oak tree in the afternoon, and found excuses to avoid the work. Meanwhile, weeds crept between the crops, small at first, then thicker and taller. The corn stalks swayed, struggling against the heat, and the soil began to crack in stubborn patches. Birds swooped down, pecking at the weak sprouts, and little pests made their homes among the neglected plants. It was a silent warning, a whisper of consequences, but Tommy didn't hear it. He was too busy imagining other places, far beyond the fields and the fences, where life was easier and fun came without effort. One afternoon, his father came to him, wiping sweat from his brow, the smell of soil clinging to his hands and sleeves. "Tommy, come help me," he said kindly. "We need to check the irrigation channels before the heat gets worse." "I'm fine, Dad," Tommy replied, lounging under the tree. "I'll help later." His father sighed, but he didn't scold. He simply went to work, fixing the channels and watering the plants, his movements careful and steady, teaching by doing rather than forcing Tommy to listen. But Tommy began to notice the changes in the field. The leaves curling under the sun, the soil hardening, the weeds climbing taller and stronger. A strange unease began to settle in his chest, a knot of worry and guilt he had never felt before. By the next morning, the consequences of his laziness were undeniable. The weeds had overtaken some of the crops, and the irrigation channels had become clogged. The soil was dry in many places, and some of the young corn stalks were wilting under the relentless sun. Mr. Thompson worked tirelessly, pulling weeds, adjusting the channels, and checking every plant. His hands were scratched, his shirt was damp with sweat, and yet he moved with quiet purpose. Tommy watched him, feeling a pang of guilt that made him lower his head. Finally, he decided he couldn't ignore it any longer. "Dad," he said quietly, I'll help." His father glanced at him, tired but kind, and nodded. "It's never too late," he said. "Let's get started." Together, they worked under the hot sun. Tommy learned how to pull weeds carefully without damaging the crops, how to fill the irrigation channel so water would reach every row, and how to tend to the soil so it could support strong, healthy plants. At first, every motion felt foreign and exhausting. His arms ached, his back stiffened, and sweat ran down his face. But gradually, something began to change. He noticed the satisfaction in seeing a weed-free row, the pride in watching the water flow evenly, the joy in touching the soft earth that promised life. He realized that work wasn't just a chore. It was an act of care, a way to nurture something and watch it grow because of his own hands. For several days, Tommy worked with his father from sunrise to sunset. He still longed for shade under the old oak tree, still imagined adventures beyond the farm. But every time he lifted a hoe or tugged at weeds, he felt a quiet shift inside. The fields responded to their efforts. Crops that had been struggling began to stand taller. Rows that had been uneven now looked tidy. The soil, once dry and cracked, held water where it needed to. Tommy's muscles ached, but his heart swelled with pride. One evening, as they sat under the fading orange light, Tommy watched the golden fields stretch out before him. "Dad," he said softly, "I understand now. I see why you never complained, why you work so hard." Mr. Thompson smiled, placing a hand on his son's shoulder. "Hard work is valuable, Tommy, not just for the harvest, but for life. It teaches patience, responsibility, and pride in what you create. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it." The days passed, and the harvest approached. The crops that had been nurtured with care thrived, while areas left untended were weaker, with smaller ears of corn and leaves that didn't shine in the sun. Tommy realized that results came not from wishing or imagining, but from consistent effort. And with each basket of golden corn he carried, each row he checked and nurtured, he felt a quiet confidence grow inside him. A knowledge that he was capable, responsible, and strong enough to care for something other than himself. By the end of the season, Tommy had changed. He still loved to daydream and enjoy the world, but he also understood that hard work was not punishment. It was a form of respect, a way of showing love for what you care about. The fields, once untamed and wild, now reflected the dedication poured into them. And Tommy, standing in the warm sunlight with his father at his side, hands dirt-streaked and back tired, felt the first true pride of his life. Years passed, and Tommy grew taller, stronger, and wiser. He never forgot the lessons of that summer, the sweat, the aches, and the feeling of planting and nurturing life with his own hands. He applied the same principle to other parts of his life: schoolwork, friendships, family, and later, his own endeavors. He learned that shortcuts might seem tempting, but effort gave depth, meaning, and lasting reward. Every time he looked back at the fields, now golden and thriving year after year, he remembered the quiet morning sun, the gentle patience of his father, and the pride of learning that hard work was always valuable. Even later in life, when he had children of his own, Tommy would walk through the fields, showing them how to plant, water, and care for the earth. And as they laughed and struggled under the summer sun, he would remember his own young self, lazy, dreaming, hesitant, and he would smile, because he knew that understanding the value of work was one of life's greatest gifts. And once it was learned, it stayed forever. Moral of the story: hard work is valuable. Effort, dedication, and responsibility bring pride, results, and lasting satisfaction.